Despite having little to no interest in golf in the real world, I've always had a soft spot for cartoony golf games, especially the Everybody's Golf and Mario Golf series. So Mario Golf Super Rush has been one of my most anticipated Switch games of the year since it was announced in the February Nintendo Direct. But while Super Rush delivers fun moment-to-moment gameplay and a great selection of playable characters, it's let down by its lack of maps and uninspired adventure mode. Super Rush's core golf mechanics work like pretty much every golf game, so if you've ever played a Mario Golf or Everybody's Golf game before, you'll feel right at home with Super Rush. You line up your shot, then determine the strength of your shot by tapping the A button to start filling up a bar, then pressing it again when the bar fills to the strength you want. You can also add topspin or backspin to your shot by tapping X or B respectively, and holding the stick in a direction will guide the ball that way. On top of your regular golfing abilities, each character in Super Rush also has two unique abilities, one that lets them run at super speed for a few seconds to quickly navigate courses, and one that allows them to perform a super shot that not only sends their ball flying way further than normal, but can also interfere with opponents' balls that are on the course, knocking them out of the way and messing up opponents' shots. While a lot of Super Rush's mechanics are extremely similar to prior Mario Golf games, they're still more than serviceable, and it's hard to think of a way for a golf game to improve on these mechanics, hence why we see such similar systems in nearly every golf game. The golfing mechanics themselves easily remain the strongest part of Mario Golf in Super Rush. Adventure mode was definitely the aspect of Super Rush that I was most excited for, but unfortunately, it's also the part of the game that I was left most disappointed with. I wanted this adventure mode to recapture the magic of the story modes found in the Game Boy Advance era of Mario sports games, and I really thought it had the potential to do so. Unfortunately, the vast majority of adventure mode is very paint by numbers and honestly quite boring. It's only in the final 10% of adventure mode that Super Rush really shows its creative side and takes full advantage of the weirdness afforded to it by the Mario IP. This final chunk is easily the best part of adventure mode, and I wish they'd committed to more of its mechanics and ideas along the way. Instead, we're left with a very generic golf game that has a great chunk of content at the very end, at least until the game abruptly ends with a thud. In adventure mode, you play through different golf tournaments as your Mii, and winning matches rewards you with badges that allow you to progress to the next area. There are some cool moments sprinkled throughout adventure mode, including some game modes that you'll only see in adventure mode. I particularly liked the type of match that places you on a giant golf course with several holes on it, and tasks you with sinking a ball in each hole within a limited amount of strokes. On the other hand, there are certain game types that appear in adventure mode that are straight up bad. For example, there's a type of match in the desert area where you have to manage a water gauge where your character's water level is constantly dropping, requiring you to finish a match before it runs out. This whole concept is underbaked and just feels like a weird inclusion. Like some of the prior Mario sports games, Super Rush's adventure mode is infused with some RPG mechanics. As you play, your Mii will level up, which in turn gives you skill points to allocate to different stats. Once you level up a stat to a certain point, it'll actually start decreasing other stats if you continue to level it up, which creates a fun juggling act as you try to balance a character to best suit your playstyle. I heavily invested a lot of my points into power and control so that I could not only drive the ball way further than my opponents, but also guide it in different directions to more easily avoid the hazards scattered across the courses. By the time I'd finished Super Rush, my Mii was around level 80, and my stats easily outclassed all of the normal playable characters. There are also vendors scattered across the map that will sell you new golf clubs and clothes that give you buffs that can help give an advantage on specific courses. There are also some optional challenges around the map that usually see you having to putt balls within a certain distance of the hole. The closer you get to the hole, the more points you're given, and you only get a limited amount of shots, so you have to make each shot count. Some of these are fun, while others have absurd difficulty spikes, which I didn't expect, seeing as I found the majority of this game pretty easy. My biggest disappointment with adventure mode is probably its boss fights, and not because they're by any means bad, in fact they're quite the opposite. I'd say they're my favourite part of adventure mode. The The boss fights were shown quite frequently in Super Rush's marketing, and I don't know why, because there are actually very few of them, and they come very late in adventure mode. This feels like a massive wasted opportunity. These battles that combine traditional video game boss fights with golf mechanics are so creative and fun, and I just wish they'd focused on this idea and made several more of them, because they only highlight how uninspired a lot of the rest of adventure mode is. Another disappointment I had with Super Rush was its uninteresting NPCs. There are a ton of NPCs sprinkled across adventure mode's map that you can talk to, but none of them ever have anything interesting to say. Many of them say very similar things and just give you tips and information that you already know. You'll also hear the same sound bites over and over again when you talk to these NPCs, which grows irritating very quickly. Nearly all of these NPCs feel the same and lack any kind of personality, which contributes to adventure mode's soulless feeling. And soulless certainly isn't a word you want to associate with a game that has Mario in the title. Outside of adventure mode, you have a few different modes to choose from. You've got your standard golf, but you also have speed golf, which sees several players golfing simultaneously and racing to finish as fast as possible and in as few strokes as possible. And battle golf, a mode where you're dropped into a hazard-filled arena with a set amount of holes, and the player who sinks the most balls wins. I liked speed golf a lot. Having to sprint to your ball after hitting it adds an interesting new layer to golfing. You have a special move that allows you to sprint very fast for a few seconds, and using it at the right time to get ahead of everyone else is crucial. You can also use your special move to screw over other players, charging into them to stun them and slow them down. And with each character in the game having unique abilities, it behooves you to try and memorise what your opponent's abilities are and how you can best avoid them. While I think speed golf is a great addition, I don't feel the same way about battle golf. Battle golf feels gimmicky and is way too chaotic. There's way too many hazards, and because you're in a confined space, everyone is constantly bombarding each other with their special moves. You're just constantly under attack in battle mode, which often makes it hard to even take a shot. Ironically, standard golf is where Super Rush shines the brightest. Simply playing a normal round of golf is consistently the most fun experience, and it's the mode I found myself being drawn back to over and over again. Super Rush's biggest shortcoming is its undeniable lack of content. While it features a healthy roster of 16 playable characters, it only features 6 maps. This is less than the N64 Mario Golf had, and this severely hurts Super Rush's replayability, especially when other Switch games like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Smash Bros Ultimate have such an abundance of content. It's hard to imagine myself ever coming back to Super Rush. It's worth noting that Super Rush is going to get free DLC characters and maps, but it really needed more content at launch. It's possible that this game is going to be great in time, but of course I can only review the game based on my experience with it in its current form. Super Rush is also not a great looking game. A lot of the environments feel very barren, and the textures on the trees and rocks are distractingly bad. Super Rush's online play seems competent, but it's by no means perfect. While I usually had fine experiences, there were a few times where I ended up in matches with noticeable lag, and even the smallest amount of lag can really break a game that relies so heavily on perfectly timed button presses. Mario Golf Super Rush is a mechanically sound golfing game that's let down by its lack of content and dull adventure mode. If the adventure mode was more fleshed out and there was a better variety of maps, this could have been a must play, but instead it just continues the trend of slightly underwhelming Mario sports games. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe or leave a comment. You can find countless other videos on my channel, including my recaps of all the recent game showcases, and my review of Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. And be sure to stay tuned for my upcoming reviews of Scarlet Nexus and Death's Door.